Well, how about that for a Louisiana football weekend? All the teams sweep. The Saints win yesterday on Monday night. LSU absolutely stomps all over Mississippi State. And then Southern picks up its first win of the season against Alabama A&M. Hey, everybody, I'm John Eads. Welcome back to Game Time. We got another episode for you here today. And we got a lot of football to talk about, but also a lot of winning football to talk about. LSU might be back after a bad loss in the first week. They pick up a win in their SEC opener against Mississippi State. The Southern Jaguars looked good as well. They get their first win against Alabama A&M, as I mentioned. Maybe they're starting to pick up their level of play in the SWAC. And then the Saints go to Carolina, and I know the final score was close, but it really wasn't that close. The defense balls out. The offense does just enough. They get a win. So be sure to follow us on social media at John Eads WAFB, or my personal socials. That's on the X app and on Instagram. Then the station's social media page is just at WAFB. If you've missed any episodes, we've got a playlist right here on YouTube with all the prior episodes. You can check out all the previous segments, and be sure to like and subscribe on those videos while you're there. We'd really appreciate that. And you guys know the drill. Every Tuesday, Thursday, new episodes. Today's Tuesday. We got one for you. Thursday, we'll have another previewing the games coming up next weekend. But we got to talk about this past weekend because it was full of fireworks for every single team in Louisiana. So let's get started. Saints are kicking us off today, mainly because they got a win yesterday. They're 2-0 for the first time since 2013. When I read that stat last week, I really couldn't believe it because it doesn't seem that hard to start 2-0 in a season. But apparently it has been that hard for New Orleans, whether it be because of the team lacking some pieces or the schedule being tough to get started. Doesn't matter. Without Alvin Kamara, while he's in the middle of a 3-game suspension, they win their first 2 games, including yesterday's 20-17 victory over Carolina. I was very, very impressed with the team. Tough place to play out in Carolina there. I mean, there's a lot of excitement around this franchise with Bryce Young being drafted. They played pretty well in week 1 against Atlanta, I think better than people expected. And if maybe you were looking for a place where there was an upset this week, some people may have looked at that Saints favored by 3-point line and put some money down on Carolina. But New Orleans came in and left no doubt, really. The defense did exactly what I thought they needed to do, and they did exactly what they did against Tennessee. They got pressure, and they bottled up this Carolina offense, literally shoved Bryce Young and everybody else in that offense into a water bottle, closed it, and put it on the shelf. Like, they were a non-factor all game. Bryce Young, 2 carries for 34 yards. I told you, he won a Heisman Trophy in college at Alabama. How did he do it? Obviously, he's a prolific thrower of the football, had some weapons there, but also because he has an elite ability to move around in the pocket, extend plays, not only with his feet, but with his arm. And Carolina did not let him do that. These defensive linemen, by and large part, kept him in the pocket. They maintained their gap responsibilities. The linebackers, they spied, they dropped back in coverage, and anywhere Young went, they knew exactly where they were going, and they met him at that destination and did not allow him to either scramble past the line of scrimmage or hit a receiver open while rolling out of the pocket. So that, to me, was the difference in the game. This D-line, they teed off. 4 sacks, 7 quarterback hits. What do you do to a rookie quarterback? You say, welcome to the NFL, youngster, and you send some pressure, get 2 or 3 guys in the backfield, force him to go this way, force him to go this way, and really just make him insanely uncomfortable. This Carolina offense did not have any explosive plays. If you want to win football games, we're going to talk a lot about this in today's episode, you need to have the ability to hit those explosive plays. I'm talking 20-plus yards on the ground, 20-plus yards through the air on one play. They didn't really have that. Their longest pass play in this game, 22 yards. Not explosive in my opinion. I know it's more than 20 yards, but that is not a pass play that's going to extend a drive or lead to a long touchdown. That's what you need to win football games in this day and age of football. They didn't do it through the air. And then on the ground, Carolina's longest run play was Bryce Young's scramble for 26 yards. And that was kind of towards the end of the game when New Orleans was playing prevent defense, dropping everybody back. So if you tell me that before the game, I would say New Orleans wins this game, and I thought they would win it more handedly. The difference in this game for me was this. Could have been a little bit different if this didn't happen. New Orleans' third down defense stout. Capital S, stout. Carolina was 4 of 14 on third down, and a big reason why this stat was flashing all game long. The average distance on those third downs for the Panthers was 7 or more yards, which forced Bryce Young to sit in the pocket against that swarm of New Orleans defenders, the 5 and 6 guys that were blitzing on those downs. You forced him to sit in the pocket, let the pass play develop, and then find a receiver open, which for, I'd say, the majority of the game and majority of opportunities, he did not do that. The only thing he did was maybe roll out left, maybe roll out right, and throw it away or throw it in the dirt. That's all he could do. So this New Orleans defense can lead this team to not only a division title, maybe a conference title, and maybe a Super Bowl title. I was sitting with a Saints fan yesterday watching the game, and he's told me the story with this team for years has been, we've got the defense, we just don't have enough on offense. That needs to change this year. If New Orleans wants to do anything elite this year, it's all about that offense. Can the offensive line play better? Derek Carr was sacked 4 times, took 6 quarterback hits. He wasn't comfortable in the pocket, which is why he threw an interception into triple coverage and missed some receivers on out routes and really throws where there was no pressure in the pocket, but he's jumping around, he's bouncy. He's just clearly not settling in back there and missing throws. And that run game needs to continue to build. No Alvin Kamara, we know that. So that changes the offense. On third downs, like 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3, New Orleans was passing a lot in the first down. Then they started handing the ball to Tony Jones Jr. He is that dude. This guy runs like every time he touches the ball, it is the last time he will ever touch a football. You don't have that kind of intensity in the running back room right now. So Jamal Williams got hurt. Tony Jones was like, all right, bet. This is my opportunity to seal my roster spot with the Saints. And he ran angry. 12 carries, 34 yards. That's not flashy, but 2 touchdowns to really put this game away. So, look, New Orleans, you've got the defense, all right? They still haven't allowed a touchdown, in my opinion. I mean, that was a, backdoor cover, 2 minutes left, dinking and dunking down the field to make the score more respectable. This was a 20-9 football game. This defense is for real. Now, can your offense continue to improve? And when Alvin Kamara gets back, can you be a well-oiled machine? That's the biggest question for the Saints. If they can do all of those things, the sky is honestly the limit for New Orleans this year. All right, well, for the first time this season, we get to utter the phrase Southern football won a football game. They beat Alabama A&M 20-10 right here in Baton Rouge over the weekend. So we're bringing in the expert to break it down and give us an update on how the team's doing this season. This is Kevin Batiste. You've definitely seen him on our station before, WAFB. Be sure to follow him at K Batiste Jr. on the X app and Instagram, all the socials, because he is Mr. Southern at this station. Really Mr. Southern for everybody. He's posting content every day on this team. So, Kev.
No, you shouldn't have. You shouldn't have.
You're that guy. He's that guy. He's a Southern guy. 20-10, first win over Alabama A&M. I'll admit it. I told you I thought A&M would win this game. I was wrong. Southern wins. A lot thanks to the defense. They played well in this game. I think they played pretty well in every game this year. They kind of lead this team.
Yeah, outside of against Jackson State, allowing all those rushing yards, 200 yards, I mean, they've really been the key cog of this team. I mean, they called themselves the Dog Day defense. Earlier last week, Alabama A&M head coach Connell Maynard, he was barking on camera saying how much they was ready for conference play.
You do it.
Yeah. I guess safe to say that the Southern players, they definitely watched that clip 50, 11 times because after they picked up the win, they were definitely barking in the cameras. Even on the Jumbotron at A.W. Mumford Stadium, they started playing part of the interview. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
that's awesome.
They should have played some of the video, but they started playing like the noise effects of him barking. So, that's SWAC football, very petty. But, yeah, like I said, if Southern wants to win a SWAC championship, obviously it starts with their defense. And the problem in their first 2 games was they weren't creating any turnovers, which was their bread and butter last year.
Okay.
And they got 4 turnovers against Alabama A&M. Obviously the most critical was the one on the goal line where it seemed like Alabama A&M's offense was a yard away from tying the game that Southern had control of early in the second half. But then Southern's defense steps up, get that get that strip on the one, and then recover it, and it was all them from there. So, yeah, the defense, they really stepped up their game.
Got close there for a sec. Yeah, I mean, Southern had control of the game, and then if Alabama A&M scores that touchdown, they're within 3 at that point, or would that have tied the game at 17?
That would have tied the game.
Yeah, right. So maybe a little fortunate there.
Yeah.
The guy calling the game called it a touchdown. I think everybody thought that was going to be a touchdown, and then, oh, no, Southern has the ball. And that, if not for that turnover, this is a completely different ball game we're talking about. So the defense big. I think the defense has played well to this point. Like, you give up 14 points to Alabama State. I mean, that's good enough to win you football games in today's day and age of college football. Jackson State, they did struggle, but overall just 27 points in that game. That's still, against the defending SWAC champs. I mean, that's a solid performance. The offense, though, just hasn't lived up to its side. I know you got a lot to say about this, so go ahead.
Yeah, you say close, and Alabama A&M would definitely tie that game on that touchdown, because before that, it was real ugly in A.W. Mumford Stadium. Like I said in my story, you could feel the rage just ready to explode from that fan base if Alabama A&M would have tied that game. There were people in the stands, saying some unkindly,
can't utter them here,
unfriendly words along the phrase of "Coach, you suck."
Whoa.
That's all I'm gonna say. I'll leave it at that.
Use your imagination.
But yeah, it was bad, man. I mean, this offense. I mean, I don't know how to explain it. It's sometimes they'll start off fast. They started off fast against Alabama State. They scored first against Jackson State. They scored on their first drive against Alabama A&M, and then after that, they just cannot put together another complete drive. And there isn't really too much good you can say about that offense from top to bottom. I mean, the receivers, when given the chance, they'll make some plays. They got the speed, they got the height. But,
looks like it.
But it doesn't matter if your offensive line cannot block and if your quarterback cannot make the throws. And as far as the O-line, it's bad.
Okay.
It's bad. Southern is a football team that usually has no problem running the football. In the past 3-4 seasons, they've always been first top half of the conference as far as rushing the football. They are dead last in running the football in the SWAC right now. I don't know if they want to be a running team, passing team, and when they try to pass, there's nothing. There's nothing. As far as the weakest point of the O-line is probably the tackles, because it feels like blood is always on his back, seeing pressure from the outside. And then I feel like his ball security, his pocket awareness, he needs to work on that too. Because I feel like once you see that pocket collapsing, you need to make some moves. You need to step up
quickly,
get out of there, throw it away, do something. So I mean, luckily it's the bye week. It's the bye week. I mean, they're 1-0 in SWAC play, believe it or not. So I mean, a lot of things to correct, but everything they want is still in front of them.
So it seems like they're still lacking an identity, and in the past, I know it's Dooley's second year, so maybe he's still trying to figure out what his identity and thumbprint with this team should be. But in the past, it's been the run game, and they haven't been able to run the ball yet. So they're trying to figure it out through the air, I guess. But even that is just, as you said, completing drives. They're not doing that. They'll get some nice chunk plays here and there, but then they'll get stopped or they'll have to punt or they miss a field goal, stuff like that. So I guess that's the biggest improvement they need going forward.
And another thing, John, I'm calling out the players because, obviously they play, but coaching is also one of the biggest culprits because one thing that we've noticed in these last 2 weeks, they have basic problems just getting the play off. I lost count of the amount of times against Alabama A&M where they just drain the play clock, or they're steady. The assistant coach is giving the signals and everything, and blood's just looking like what's going on? Like I don't know what's going on. Then you get the snap off at the last minute, and it turns into like a 1 yard, 2 yard, or no game play. And then there was sometimes where they would come out of a timeout and drain the play clock or get a delayed game. And I feel like that cannot happen.
Can't have that, yeah.
You cannot happen. On top of the weaknesses with the O-line and QB struggling like that, if the coach can't get it together, then nothing's going to come to fruition.
All right, so a lot to clean up. But 1-0 in SWAC play. You'd like to get those wins in the non-conference. I'm glad you brought that up, though, because I want to know 3 games in, have you kind of readjusted maybe the expectations you had for this team? I remember that wristband you were wearing. Like, inside that locker room, they had a lot of confidence. They thought this was a team that could maybe win the conference this year and just elevate from good to great, right? That's what it said.
That's what it said.
Do you think they're still on track to do that? Can they turn it around? What do you think?
Their saving grace is the SWAC West. It's wide open.
All right.
There is not a dominant team. Just like last year when Southern won the conference on literally the last 2 weeks of the season, when they needed 2 or 3 teams to fall flat on their face and it happened. I mean, that's something that could happen again this year. But, I mean, as far as that, you don't want to rely on too many teams to handle your own business. I mean, as of right now, this does not look like a SWAC championship caliber team. Just what I'm seeing. I mean, they have a championship caliber defense, but like we just said, it doesn't matter if you cannot put up points.
Right.
And as far as the rest of their schedule, they still got, the gauntlet of the SWAC West. They still got PV. They still got Alcorn. They still got TSU, Grambling, all those guys. They play FAMU in.
That's a tough one.
They play FAMU in 3 weeks. But outside of maybe Pine Bluff, because they usually handle business against Pine Bluff.
That's what you were saying.
Bethune-Cookman, who's another one of those kind of like low-rated teams. And then they have the homecoming game against Division II Lincoln College.
Okay.
I think that's their name. But outside of those 3 games, I mean, it's a lot of toss-ups.
All right.
So I don't know. Yeah, my expectations for this team has surely taken a plummet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you got a lot of weeks in the season still to come, so maybe they'll fix some of the things you were talking about, and maybe they'll turn it around.
Oh, yeah.
It all seems like it's about that offense, though, so let's get that O going.
Oh, yeah. Like I said, it's still early in the season. We're 3 weeks into the season. Like I said, in the SWAC, anything can happen. Yeah. Eventually, anything can happen. We could have it go into another scenario. It comes down to the last 2 weeks of the season. Southern might be in a 3-way tie for 3rd place or something.
That'd be fun. Yeah.
And everything they need just happens like it did last year. So.
Falls into place, yeah. So would it be fair to say things could get swacky?
Yeah, pretty much.
All right.
No. See, matter of fact, sports director Steve Schneider, he has this saying, "Swactified," when you can expect anything out the ordinary.
All right, I like that.
There's a bunch of swactified things that could happen once we get to the key parts of the season.
That's out of the box. Yeah. All right, well, we're getting to the key parts of the season pretty soon here, so stay locked to Kevin's social media pages at K Batiste Jr. That's correct?
Yes, sir.
Cool. On X, Instagram, and, of course, tune into our sports blocks every day at 6 and 10.
I still call it Twitter. It's still Twitter in my eyes.
Okay.
I don't know about X.
It still comes out of my mouth when I don't think about it, so sometimes it's X, sometimes it's Twitter. But follow him on whatever you want to call it, whatever you know it as, for continued Southern coverage. Thanks for stopping by, Kev.
Yes, sir.
We'll bring you back in soon, all right?
No problem.
Another team with high expectations, LSU. You back on the train, folks? Top 5 team week 1. Didn't look like it against Florida State and Orlando. But they go to Starkville, and it was a trap takeover. That's what it was. They took over that city and did it early. You know you're going to hear those cowbells. Those cowbells stopped ringing after the first quarter. At halftime, it was 24-7. If you look at snapshots of how the game progressed, the box score, the yardage for both teams, oh my goodness, it was like varsity against freshmen. Mississippi State just looked incompetent. And LSU made them look incompetent. And LSU showed you why I thought they could win the SEC West preseason and why all of you should be back in that belief right now. This LSU team showed you exactly why they can win the SEC West and maybe, just maybe, win the SEC. Jaden Daniels and Malik Neighbors. They went to your local dive bar, and this is what they were doing. They were on that dartboard, just boop, 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 all night long. All afternoon long in Starkville. How about these connections here? Daniels and Neighbors, passer, receiver, hooked up on a 32-yard connection, 26-yard touchdown connection, 33-yard touchdown, 48-yard pass, 45-yard pass as well. How many is that? 5 explosive passing plays. Some of those on 3rd down, some of those on 4th down. That one touchdown in particular where it's all or nothing. You're catching this ball for a touchdown or the ball's going back to Mississippi State. These guys were on another level, and I can only imagine what it's like in practice. This is probably what it's like, mainly because LSU's secondary is a little weak, at least has been so far, and then also because Malik Neighbors is an NFL receiver. He is your go-to receiver. This is how every game should go. He should get 10-plus targets. Jaden Daniels' first look on a play, his hot read, should be to Malik Neighbors, and it was in this game. And if they continue to do that, what can't this offense do? What defense can stop this offense? Neighbors is a playmaker. Some of these balls, your average receiver will not catch. But Malik Neighbors is different. He climbs the ladder and comes down with these footballs. He gets open on the short routes and gets yards after the catch. 13 receptions, 239 yards, 2 touchdowns. Career numbers, career performance. This was the Malik Neighbors game. Hopefully he has more of these, but if this is the best game he ever has at LSU, this was the Malik Neighbors game right here. Unbelievable stuff. And then Daniels, he had a career game as well. A lot of people asked post-game, was this the best game of Jaden Daniels' career? I say so without a doubt. In fact, it was one of the best performances by an LSU quarterback in the entire program's history. 30 of 34, 88% completion percentage. That is the highest completion percentage by an LSU quarterback of at least 25 pass attempts ever. And who saw that coming? I certainly didn't. I thought MSU would cover the 9-point spread in this game. Thinking back to that Orlando game, how many deep downfield shots did this offense take? Maybe one or two. One of those was in garbage time to Brian Thomas against FSU's backup defense. And so I asked Jaden Daniels after the game, basically, why couldn't you do this against Florida State? Where was this in that game in Orlando? And he said, you know what? I wish we would have taken more shots. I wish we would have done this. Because as you can see, Mississippi State's a solid defense. I talked about it going into the game. Probably top half defense in the SEC. Like, they're no slouches. This isn't Grambling State, no disrespect, but this was an actual opponent with real athletes and a pretty solid defense. And these plays were working. There's no reason why they couldn't have done this against Florida State. So he said that was a learning experience. So what they learned from that game, they used in this game. And they're going to use in every other game going forward, because here's something I want to do here. I want to compare this performance to what Texas did when they beat Alabama. Because if you want to win the SEC West, right now it's looking like an LSU and Alabama race for the top. A&M's, they lost to Miami. I'm kind of down on them right now. And I don't really see another challenger for LSU and Alabama. So here's how you're going to beat Alabama from an offensive standpoint. Quinn Ewers and Xavier Worthy, Texas's quarterback and wide receiver 1. They connected on a 44-yard deep shot one-on-one touchdown. A.D. Mitchell, another receiver on Texas. He had a 32-yard reception and a 39-yard touchdown reception to put that game away, make it 34-24, which was the final score. Texas winning, of course. J.T. Sanders, the flex tight end on this Texas team, had a 34-yard reception and a 50-yard reception that led to a touchdown. What is that? 5 explosive passing plays, all resulting in points, all moving the ball down the field. That's how you're going to beat a team like Alabama. You're going to take some shots. You have to have the ability to take those shots, and then you got to hit on those shots. So that's what LSU did in this game against Mississippi State. That's what they'll have to do moving forward against really every SEC defense they play, like Arkansas coming up next, but really Alabama, because that's going to be the SEC West Divisional Championship, in my opinion. You win that game, you win the division, and maybe you can win the whole SEC. We'll have that conversation again later, but if you're thinking about how to go about thinking about this Mississippi State game and what it means from a larger perspective, that's it right there. LSU showed you the recipe for how to win the SEC West. They've got the ingredients. Now, can they put it into the cooking bowl and cook up that recipe and win that division title? That's the biggest question. Was this an anomaly, or is this the consistent thing we're going to see week after week? Jaden Daniels making throws, Malik Neighbors getting open, and these two guys just fueling this LSU offense to massive performances and big wins in situations when they need to get wins. So I was blown away by LSU's offense in this game. Haven't seen Jaden Daniels really play like this consistently, like from quarter 1 to quarter 4 ever in his career. But we finally did in Starkville. And LSU's now 2-1. The excitement is building back up with this team, as it should be. And if the offense brings this kind of intensity, energy, and efficiency into every game, there is no reason why they can't win the SEC West and knock off Alabama and Tuscaloosa. Let's talk defense, though, because the defense played well, too. They held Mississippi State to 14 points, 7 of those really in the actual meat of the game. How did they do it? Pressure. Consistent all throughout the game. Kind of the same recipe we talked about with the Saints defense. They made Will Rogers one of the best quarterbacks in SEC history when his career's all said and done look like he was a first-year starter. LSU had 4 sacks in this game. They didn't let this Mississippi State offense hit on any big explosive plays. That's the key. Maybe some of it was the matchup for LSU. The Bulldogs run more of a pro-style system where, Rogers isn't really the athlete that Jordan Travis is, and not the athlete that Grambling State's quarterback was either. This was the first opportunity for LSU to kind of tee off get after a quarterback that needs to sit in the pocket, go through his progressions and make reads, and can't necessarily get out of the pocket and hurt you with his legs. And that played right into the hands of LSU's defensive scheme and philosophy and game plan for this game. Mekhi Wingo won one-on-one. He had a sack. Savion Jones got outside, prevented Rodgers from making a throw. He got a sack. Major Burns, even from the safety spot, got a sack. And Harold Perkins, we finally saw the Harold Perkins we thought we would see every game this season. Why? Well, they're using him differently. LSU had Whit Weeks, a true freshman, play linebacker, and then Greg Penn as well. Where was Perkins? He was outside of the boundary, playing in the slot, spying still, blitzing, keeping his eyes on the quarterback, and just simply making plays. What LSU did, too, is exactly what we told you they need to do last week. This MSU offense is really centered around one guy, since it's a pro-style offense. It's their explosive running back, Woody Marks. He really didn't do much in this game. He went over 70 yards on the ground, but most of that came on one singular carry where Zy Alexander, LSU's corner, just missed the tackle. Other than that, he had 20 yards on a handful of carries and was a non-factor in the receiving game. I think he had one catch for a negative yard. And if you tell me that before this game, yeah, I'd probably say LSU wins by 2-3 touchdowns pretty easily. So that's exactly what happened. And back to Will Rogers, he had the worst game of his collegiate career. And that's not opinion-based. That is statistic, factual-based. He was 11 for 28 for 103 yards, 0 touchdowns. That's his fewest completions as a starting quarterback and fewest passing yards as a starting quarterback at Mississippi State. I don't know why this guy didn't transfer. I'm not going to lie. The system doesn't fit him. He's an air raid quarterback. Guy can sling it. I don't know why he stayed in Mississippi State, but he did. So, again, the pressure was the difference in this game. When you think about, hey, what was different? You know, LSU got embarrassed against Florida State. Bad matchup. Jordan Travis is a great dual-threat quarterback. They've got explosive playmakers at the running back, tight end, and wide receiver positions. And it's kind of, it's like a spread option. I don't even know how you would characterize Florida State's offense, but it's just quick. They don't allow you to get into the backfield. They don't allow themselves to be in positions to get sacked. Not the same case for Mississippi State. And you're not going to see offenses like this every week. LSU's going to see more dual-threat quarterbacks. They're going to see more teams that want to get rid of the ball quickly. Grambling State did that. FSU did that. I imagine Alabama will try to do something like that, where the quarterback takes the snap and he gets rid of it in 2 seconds. So unless you literally are wearing a jetpack or some kind of super speed shoes, you are not even touching the quarterback to get a sack, to affect the play, whatever the case may be. But that's what LSU needs to do really in every game, is find a way to scheme and put yourself in positions to get those sacks and to make the other team uncomfortable. You know, reroute them, in a sense, from what they want to do to attack your defense. I've said this stat a lot. I think it's a very important stat to keep in mind. LSU didn't win a single football game last year when it got 0 sacks. The same is true so far this year. They had no sacks against Florida State. They had 1 against Grambling State. But against Florida State, as I've been laying out, they didn't get pressure. They didn't affect that offense. The Seminoles did what they wanted to do the whole game. And they were rarely, if at all, pushed back due to penalties, due to sack yardage, due to TFL loss. Didn't happen. So if there's more games this season where LSU doesn't get a sack, I think it's a very difficult proposition for them. And I don't think that they'll win those games because they kept Mississippi State behind the sticks. Look at the box score. Look at the play-by-play. Every Bulldogs third down was at least 3rd down and 8 in the first half. And really, for the majority of the game, it was 3rd and long. What does that mean? That means you can blitz 4, 5, 6 guys, get to the quarterback before the play can even develop, and get a sack, and get off the field, and your offense gets the ball back. So that is the key to success this year for LSU. Sacks for success. If they can do that consistently the rest of the season, this defense, in harmony with that offense, will be unstoppable. And if the offense is clicking on the cylinders it was in this game, and the defense is getting stops and getting the ball back to the offense that is playing so well, look out for this team. This is the Tigers team I thought we'd see from week 1. Didn't see it. But you know what? Maybe it was good because they could learn from some mistakes they made, and the team that we actually think LSU is capable of being is forming right now, and by the time they go to Tuscaloosa, and by the time they host Texas A&M, they're the team that can win not only the SEC West, not only the SEC, but maybe an entire national championship. All right, that does it for this episode. Electric. Got a lot in. There's a lot of excitement back in this town. I think after week 1, everybody came back here and we were like, man, we fell for that fool's gold. This team really isn't it this year. But you know what? I told you guys not to overreact. I said this game in Starkville would tell us a lot, and it did tell us a lot of good things. And we'll just continue to find out more each and every week. Arkansas this week, then Ole Miss on the road. That's going to be a ranked game. And then Missouri after that, also on the road, another ranked game. So, look, it really is every single week is a season within itself. So you got to be locked into these episodes for previews, reactions, and predictions because we'll have it for you guys all season long. Like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Check out all of our episodes if you miss them. WAFB.com/gametime. Hit the bell for the post notifications so you don't miss an episode on YouTube. And we'll see you guys on Thursday. Thanks for tuning in.